I'm Gino. I'm a robotics professor at Carnegie Mellon University. So before we talk about robotics, I'd like to also know what you think about robots. Can you tell me about the robots that you have or you think?
For me, in my daily life, I've been living with my robot vacuum for years now. Yes, so it became one of my life essential.
Excellent.
So you forgot how to clean your
I
apartment?
forgot how to clean
I
by
have
myself.
5 of them.
Well, I recently went to a cafe and there was a robot barista. So it makes your coffee, it brings it to you. It was actually very precise, so I was very surprised.
I don't have any robots at home, but I know that in factories there's a lot of robots that do essential tasks. I mean, even so much that I wonder if a factory could even exist without robots these days.
That's true.
Yeah, and I saw a robot at a restaurant. He was like serving some food to people. It was kind of interesting.
That's right. So robots are getting integrated into our lives. In order to see more, like people envision the robots may be everywhere, like ubiquitous. But what are the qualifications for them to be around humans? Any thoughts? Your robot must have this property, characteristics, or
I think convenience and precision.
precision.
Precision,
yes.
yeah, like
So,
how the robot can handle the task I don't want to do. Like
And it should be able to make coffee.
coffee.
Coffee, yes, coffee is important.
yes. So you mentioned the precision. So I'd like to maybe generalize the term to maybe competence. So the robots should be able to perform the tasks that are assigned to them.
I think being easy to use is most important. The robot that even my grandparent could use without complicated manual, I think that's an innovation.
Yes, interaction or interface. So I think that's an excellent point because even if it can do everything, but if it's very difficult to use, then no one will use. Okay?
Definitely. And for me, I would say trust, because how would my robot in my house act and how would my personal data be protected? So trustworthy robot is probably the key factor that I would consider.
Yeah, excellent. It's like hiring someone, right? So that someone happened to be a robot, and how can you trust this new agent in our environment?
Yeah, for me, I really feel like the emotional component should be there. I guess having some sort of understanding, I think, is an important dimension.
I also kind of agree with you on the emotion or some connection, just like, biological systems. So I don't know how many of you own a pet or live with the pets, and, that kind of a bonding. So is it possible? Okay. So these are all excellent points. And in my case, safety matters a lot because if we want to invite them into our environment, the robots are similar to small vehicles. Would you have self-driving vehicle in your home?
I was like a self-driving vehicle when I was young.
Yeah. So you understand that in order to be accepted in a human environment, so the physical safety as well as mental safety. So like, is AI system safe to use? So there's a different layers of safety. And when it comes down to physical robots, the physical safety, is kind of central. That is the area that we still need to do a lot more research to cover.
Just like humans, robots had to pass some sort of like competency tests.
Right, like driving test, kind of?
Yeah, something like that,
like
right?
driving test.
I can't imagine me as a small autonomous unit when I was young passing a driving test, but yeah, right.
If an accident happened, who is responsible? Like the manufacturer, the user, or we need to consider like an ethical responsibility?
Yes. So all these ethical issues, that's really, really important. And luckily, a lot of people are starting to think about the regulations and what needs to be done to have a safety around these AI and robotics systems. So I think we are all in agreement on that. So let me invite you to my lab so that I can show you what kind of research that I have been doing around this concept of safety and also creativity. So.
Carnegie Mellon University, located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a global hub for robotics research, where you can easily spot a variety of robots all around the campus. Students here have been building and racing self-driving robots for over 30 years, a true testament to their passion for robotics. At this robotics institute, there's one special robot that stunned the world, Frida, a robot that interprets human input and paints on its own. By entering text into the AI or uploading an inspiring image or photo with a request, Frida picks up a brush and begins filling the canvas itself.
The robot can operate with a number of different tools. So right now it's using a Sharpie, but the same robot can work with a brush or any type of brush. So it'll draw many strokes with each new tool that you give it and take pictures. And then with those pictures, it can learn what the effect is. So we call this real to sim to real. So we're trying to improve the simulation based on the real outputs of the robot.
The robot is named after the Mexican surrealist painter Frida Kahlo. It's also the acronym for Framework and Robotics Initiative for Developing Arts. The creator behind Frida is world-renowned roboticist, Professor Jean Oh.
My earlier problem domain was more on the navigation side, which is a planning from one place to another. So it's going to an airport, things like that, but given a natural language instructions. And I switched to an art domain to maybe define the problem a little bit more in a fundamental way.
When she was a student, Professor O didn't even know what an internet account was, what you call a complete tech illiterate. But after stumbling upon a lecture by chance, she became fascinated with combining robotics and AI, boldly changed her major to computer science, and began her journey into the field. In the early days, her work focused mainly on navigation and aviation technologies. But now she's expanding the scope of her research by bringing technology into the realm of art. In fact, when she first began working on Frida, many questioned why she was building a painting robot instead of something more practical, like a home assistant.
When people see Frida, they only see the artifacts that the robot makes, so they have this misperception of the whole project. Maybe this is an art project, but to us, this is a robotics project where we study difficult robotics challenges.
From the moment she took her first steps as a researcher, Professor O's belief about the role of robots has remained unwavering. Robots are tools to help create a better life for humans in the real world. This philosophy is deeply embedded in Frida as well.
Nowadays, people are very familiar with the generative AI, which has been very successful, but that success only exists in the digital space, a virtual world, inside a computer. And in order to see that kind of success in the real world, we can only rely on robots or humans who can take actions. So taking actions is kind of at the core thing in robotics.
Recently, Tesla in the US unveiled its robot, Optimus. It can not only dance ballet, but also shows off flashy shuffle steps. Earlier this year, China also made headlines by showcasing robots performing a large-scale choreographed dance alongside people. So why do we keep making robots dance? Because it's the perfect way to test performance limits, like rapid weight shifts and balance control. Similarly, Frida was given complex tools like brushes and paints because Professor O believed that tackling the hardest challenges first would make the rest easier to solve. She also wanted to take on the limitations of robotic hand control, which has progressed more slowly than walking technology. As a result, Frida has evolved to the point where it can now replicate not just simple curves, but even the intricate motions of human drawing with remarkable precision.
This side, you'll see that the robot is drawing with very boring strokes. They're basically just little parabolas, just very simple curves. And that's what most other robotic systems use to make their drawings. But on this side, you'll see what we call spline Frida. So these are the types of curves that are learned from actual humans drawing. So they appear a bit more natural, and then it has a lot more variations.
And of course, we couldn't miss the chance either. Our crew asked Frida to paint a quick portrait for us. After a brief pause, as if gathering its thoughts, it dips her brush in paint and begins to work. From the hairstyle to the facial features, it did a pretty impressive job capturing the details, right?
잘 나왔나요?
어떠세요? 좀 닮으신 것 같아요?
아 예, 닮았잖아요.
For robots to become more than just machines, to truly serve people, safety is just as important as flexible movement and advanced intelligence. To that end, Professor O's team has recently launched a new project.
We've been studying how the robot should navigate in a human environment when there are other humans or human-driven vehicles. So we call them the other AI. So we're debating whether we should call this artificial instincts or artificial intuitions.
Just as animals don't use language but have survival instincts, the idea behind this research is that AI robots, too, should be equipped with instincts to avoid danger on their own. By covering them with a soft, flexible outer layer equipped with visual and audio sensors, the team made it possible for the robot to detect threats, even in unexpected situations, and ensure a safe environment, even with human contact.
When you move in a crowded space, you might ask for people to give you way if you're in a hurry, or you might signal that something is blocking you. And that's something that robots operating in very crowded space also need to have the ability to do in a way that's safe and that doesn't make or disrupt the flow of the crowd.
To achieve this, the team is now focusing more on developing a natural outer layer for robots, what they call electronic skin. The goal goes beyond simply minimizing damage to both humans and robots during collisions. It's about creating robots that feel familiar, even when integrated into human society.
Now there are lots of companies coming out with humanoids and intelligent robots with the very high-level artificial intelligence, and I would dress up the robots so they not only functions as buffer or safety, but also in a fashion sense.
Professor O's team is working on a wide range of projects, but they all share the same goal: to make robots more practical in daily life, and above all, safer.
We also did a project really recently on trying to get robots to do hair care. So trying to get robots to help us do hairstyling and hair grooming. They, at the end, kind of fit into my overall research of trying to make robots more useful and more generalizable and more fitting for kind of our world.
To prove her firm belief that good technology must ultimately serve the people, Professor Jean O continues to turn her endless imagination into reality today.
Robots will be next to our children, the people. So how do we stay safe? And how can we allow robots in our space? So half of my project is about that part, how to support safety and also comfort. So safety is more like avoiding the worst case. So how to actually have the robots learn that kind of behavior, like the social norms, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and also staying safe in a very unexpected events. It's a little bit crazy, so I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
I'm really curious that how the robot learn human movement. I'm afraid of in the future it could be threatened.
Honestly, there will be some jobs that will be replaced by AI. I mean, we are already observing some of them.
Definitely.
I mean, the things that people usually don't want to work on. So those are the sectors that we develop technologies to make it easier. So redundant, labor intensive. And some people may use AI and robotics to actually turn into a more creative system. But I want to kind of pass the ball to the users and humans back, like asking the question, do we need that? It's, again, the tool versus users. If there's people who want them, it will be developed and used. I think it's up to us. Like, would we appreciate the art created purely by AI? And in my definition, art includes more than just the beautiful things. Like, it has its own stories, you know, the meanings. And what is the meaning of that? Like, created by AI and robots. Then do we need to watch the dramas of AI? I don't think we can stop them, but it's up to us. Like, as humans, some people are even concerned about AI developing something like a religion or some sort of a belief. It is plausible, like it can happen if people follow that idea. They worship something that was created by AI. Is it an AI issue or a human problem? It's a human limitation, and then it can be attacked through AI. I think this conversation is becoming too philosophical, but this is something that everyone should think about, because AI is now together with everyone's life, and it's impacting significantly, especially the next generation. Then we have to ask that question, like, do we want them or not? And then this is the time that we make such decisions to put the regulations if needed, or continue developing and encourage people to pursue that directions. But it's a time that everyone has to have a clear mind to think about the really long-term future.
Did you ever have someone, artist, come by and be like, oh, we don't like Frida, it's taking our jobs away? Did you have any artists that complained about it?
Yes, sometimes artists visit my lab and are you going to take our jobs? But after they see what we are doing and have a discussion, they almost 100% they leave as a collaborator, like a future collaboration partner, because our goal is very clear. We never see our work as a new type of creativity that is going to replace the humans. Our goal was to develop tools so that we can help people to be more creative, and then also bring back the dying fields. You know, I want to see more children do the painting. So whenever we do the Frida painting, it attracts so many children, and then they all start drawing next to the robot. So it's really rewarding experience. And I also did the demo at a rehabilitation hospital, and people there just enjoyed the experience so much. But the thing is, the robot itself doesn't really help much. When we first asked people, hey, do you want to paint with Frida? 100% they said no. I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist. Okay, so then do you want to see the robot start? And then they say yes. And then Frida starts like doing something. And then again, 100%. They all engage and they, let me try some. And then they take the canvas and then they continue. And then some people don't even leave after their turn because they want to continue. So, you know, the demo, there is a line, and then they borrow our pens to continue drawing. And then they all say it's really therapeutic. So that's our purpose. So it was never meant to be creating another robot artist. So some people call Frida robot artist, but it's a artist tool.
In terms of that connection between robots and humans, it's also very complicated, as you mentioned. What do you think is like the skill set for people as we move forward to live in that world with robots?
That's a great question. Like, what what's remaining for humans, the things that only humans can do, which is the creative space to me. So we want to hear the story about humans, not AI agents. And the dramas will continue to be written, the new stories, maybe similar, but different stories, the dramas of new people, next generations. That's a human job. I mean, AI can write about that, but I think that's up to us again. Like, are we going to enjoy AI-generated ones? Or do we value more the human creators' work? And that's a question to think about.
Then in the video, it said that progress in robotic and skill is still quite slow. Is there a reason?
The development in the robot hands? Yes. Let's use a human analogy. So when you're a baby, probably you don't remember, but first thing that you learned probably is to move around. Okay. So there is a navigation part. Okay. And in robot's case, let's use a wheeled robot example. Just moving, it's a kind of mechanical, so there's not much to learn and train, except for maybe different terrain types. But the hand skill, remember how you mastered your hand skills? You're still developing. So naturally, it is a harder task. And then also it depends on the shape of end effectors. Are there animals that have hands?
Chimpanzee. You mean opposable thumbs?
Yeah, like thumbs and a similar structure.
There's some, is there like a marsupial that has one?
So there are a few, but most of other animals just have paws to move around. So it is a advanced structure which includes a lot of moving joints. And then biological systems somehow master the skill, but for mechanical system, every moving part needs to be controlled and actuated. So coming up with the complex planning for all these joints all together to perform some task is hard. So especially if you want to develop anthropomorphic hand, which looks like a human hand, and even the simple hand, like parallel jaw gripper, it's not that easy. And also if you only have a jaw gripper, all the tasks are harder than having dexterous hand. So there is a difficulty in hardware development as well as the software, the control algorithm and mechanisms.
Speaking of the video that we just watched, I was actually very shocked by the dancing robots because it definitely dances better than I do. So what do you think globally, what country is most leading right now in robotics development?
That's a hard question. It's a sensitive topic to answer, but I think in terms of number of companies that are forming in that sector, I think there are a lot of humanoid companies starting in US, China. So we see a lot of development and also interest there. And then in terms of learning or robotics skill level, so the hardware is a little bit different from the actual control part. And US, the West Coast, there's a lot of companies doing it. Yes.
And then what's the hottest topic right now in robotics?
The hype of AI. Like AI has reached the level that scares people. So, okay, oh, wow, this AI writes better than me, kind of a level. But will we see that kind of advancement in robotics? That's hard. But people want to merge this success of AI with robots. So the physical system, so that it can do something for us. Like not just giving out recipes. Okay, in order to make pasta, boil water, and they can tell you everything, but you have to do it. Okay? So how can we make the robot actually do the job? So I think that is the hardest topic, like how to create intelligent robots. So robotics still remains very, very challenging. So it's beyond just the success of a small field in AI or the language part or image only, because robotics includes understanding language, understanding vision, understanding other types of sensory systems, and on top of that, it has to know how to fill that gap for unseen parts and unspecified description of the task. So there's a lot of research to be done in the field. Let me invite you to what I have been doing using creativity and also prediction capabilities in the interdisciplinary field between arts and robotics.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. How you would communicate what's inside your brain to another agent. Copy your brain and just give it to where robot intelligence is. How would you use these technologies to help us become better humans? You need to be careful. Some things that I thought that can happen in my lifetime are actually happening.